Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is young fly swatter.
Right. Cool. Here we go.
Here we go.
Hey, and welcome back to the next episode of the Right Hand Drive Guys podcast, the podcast for guys who like right-hand drives. I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
Yo.
And we are back in the garage, unfortunately. We wish we were somewhere else.
Dude, back at IA.
Back at IA. IA was a blast. If you listened to last week's episode, we did it on Friday, right at the beginning of IA. And, dude, yeah, we got to catch up with so many people that we hadn't really gotten to interact with in, potentially 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
We got, so many more friends than we realized.
Dude, seriously, I mean, just either driving through the pits or just walking through, dude, I was like, oh, hey, yo, dude, it was crazy, how many people that kind of forgot I knew other than on Facebook and stuff.
And that are still doing it.
Yeah. And, some of those people, this was their first time out in a while, too.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Shout out to all the, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Alabama homies that came out and we got to interact with.
Yeah, it was a good time.
So, yeah, I mean, Aaron got to drift.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was cool.
Got to beat on my car a bit.
Yeah, and it came back with no dents, dings, still some decent tires on the rear.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was torrential downpouring.
Yeah. So track got a little bit messy. So
yeah,
it got a little bit dirty, but
caked with mud. Yeah,
nothing. A little pressure washing can't fix.
Right, but so he had a blast. It was all good fun. This couple let me share their big umbrella with them, so only my left arm was drenched.
Nice.
The rest of me was good till it was time to go back. But so we did manage to pump out one live from my interview, and that was with a longtime friend of both of ours, Tim Schultz.
Yeah.
And Tim's been in the game for quite a while, as you'll hear. And he currently drives a EK9 Civic Type R. So he is definitely part of the right-hand drive family.
Awesome, man.
All right, let's get to it. This is Tim Schultz. All right, and we're back with Tim Schultz. What's up, Tim?
Yeah, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. Yeah. Me and Aaron, we got quite a long history with Tim. We'll get into the gun show thing. Yeah, I think that's where it really started for us.
My God, yeah.
So we kind of know about Tim, but Tim, just tell us who you are, where you live, what you do, that type of thing.
Currently, I'm in Indy right now. Been in the car world for, God, it seems like forever. I don't know, probably going on 20 years. Over 20 years at this point.
That's longer than some of our listeners have been alive.
Yeah. Think it. And it all started with an '89 CRX SI when I was 15. So, I'll be 38 this year. So, and it was before then when I was kind of getting into it. So.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, you probably can't even find CRX SI right now if you wanted.
There's two here right now that I was and they're both black, and I was like, oh, that's literally what I had, bone stock black, CRX SI, and and people made fun of me because I'm in high school, and you got this big dude. All of a sudden, I just hop out of this, tiny little car. What are you doing? I'm like, it's fun to drive, and I didn't really know much about it then, kind of getting into that world, and this was back in 03-ish, 02, 03. Mm-hmm. So, at that time, you're looking at a 12, 15, year-old car. Wasn't rusty. It wasn't, stuff like that. Really, that we didn't really have to worry about too much that then. And, the 99 2000 SIs were out, and, people at that time, were doing the B16 swaps, and, of course, you had the EK9 swaps and stuff like that. That were way out of the price range for something, that I would want to do
as a 15-year-old.
As a 15-year-old working at KFC,
Those are the dreams,
slinging
though, right?
chicken.
Yeah, that was, dude. I was. They let me cook chicken one time, and they were like, you know what, you're done. You keep selling it. You keep selling it. We're good. You know what I'm saying? They were like, no. You stay up front. I was a good salesperson for them, so they just let me do that. They didn't let me cook it. So.
And I mean, at the time, maybe. You didn't realize that first car was actually an awesome first car, right?
Yeah, no, it was. you know, and looking back, I'm like, man, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of cool things I really could have done to it. That I, you know, being that young 15-year-old, you know, you kind of go through those phases. I had the red lights on the inside, which is ironic that cars are now coming with red lights
literally
on the inside. You know what I mean? And so I had that ambient lighting back then, you know, with those little Pep Boys starter kits. You know what I mean? And had the wiper LED. You know, the washer, the washer nozzle spray lights, you know. And then, of course, you know, like 5 minutes later, I'm like, well, this is stupid looking. You know, it's a great idea, great concept. And then you put it on, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is not what I wanted. And I actually bought that car from, a lot of people may know Matt Thornton from back in the day. Rest in peace. He is unfortunately not here anymore, but had the cleanest Prelude on the face of the earth. And I actually bought that car from him. Wow. And so I kept in contact with him throughout the years, and he was kind of like my mentor in the JDM world. So he is the one that really kind of triggered, hey, you should look at Spoon, you know. So I went, there was a place, was it called Thrust or something like that, way back in the day, like in Rivergate. There was a place, a JDM importer, you know, that did the, you know, they had, you know, of course, God's Motor, the LS motors, and the older, you know, B16s and stuff like that. They imported stuff. They weren't around very long, but they had Spoon stuff. So I went there, bought a Spoon knob. That's where that kind of started transitioning over into what kind of really led into that. And I would always call him like, hey, what does this mean? Or how does this work? He was my buddy that I had a 91 that Robin's Egg Blue Integra. That I did I planned on repainting the whole car Amazon green or something off the Ridgeline. But he built my LS VTEC. Was one of the first wire tucked cars really in the Nashville area other than his, because nobody really did that then.
Right, it
wasn't
even
really
there
a thing.
Yet.
You know, Chase Bays and raw wire, they weren't really like a big thing yet. You know, they were kind of around, but nothing really like that. You know, then I ended up trading that car, and I went through. I literally have had every make and model of Honda from '89 to my Type R was 2018.
Wow.
Almost
That's quite the feat.
Yeah, literally, I've had anything from the CRX to multiple Integras of the the DA years. I've had a 4-door EF sedan, 92 Preludes. I haven't had the newer gen Prelude, but even down to I had an Accord Sport, like a 2013 or 2014 Accord Sport. I had a 2018 Type R. You know, so I've kind of flavor of multiple. I don't even know how many 97 hatchbacks.
So you're a Honda guy.
I am a Honda guy through and through. I've dabbled into 350Z market. Had that for a little bit. Had a 22 Supra for a little bit. I loved the car. I actually would probably still have it today if it was a tiny bit bigger. I'm just too big of a guy.
And I can imagine that's a challenge, finding a car that you're super comfortable in, right? That you can just be happy going out and jumping in without a struggle. You know, that you're height challenged in the positive way. And
all these cars are not made for me, you know, and so you have to kind of make them made for you, you know, and that's even down to, I had an S2000 for that was one of my longest standing cars that I owned, was the S2000.
Wow.
Other than my green car, which was down probably for most of its life. But the S2000 I had for several years, I think almost 4 years. You know, I don't keep things long, probably maybe a year is kind of my limit.
And that's kind of how you're getting a lot of this experience. A lot of guys will be like, well, why doesn't he just stick with a car? Well, how do you know what you love if you haven't tried it, right? How do you know? So to rewind and touch on the Matt Thornton thing real quick, I think that the fact that you had a mentor that was not only educated and knowledgeable, but also like hands-on, man, that is priceless, because you don't get that often, right?
And I thought it was like he had a Honda tuning cover car, right? And I painted his side skirts and his front and rear lip. Like, you know, it was kind of one of those things that we traded off work a lot. Like, I would help him, he would help me. And he was so meticulous, super awesome dude. I actually have my one and only tattoo that I have, he drew. And it was actually, his garage had these pistons, and I was like, dude, I want that as a tattoo. And my grandpa passed back in '04, and I was like, I want that with my grandpa's initials, things like that. And so he drew it up, and I framed it. I took it to the lady, and she tattooed it.
Damn.
And so I actually have a piece of him with me all the time. I mean, that's how much he kind of means to me in a sense.
Super
So,
good memories.
yeah,
man.
yeah. So, yeah.
And so, so you were slinging KFC, and so this is 20 or so years ago, right? And so, what there's obviously a transition there, but what do you do today?
I actually work in the age and disabled industry. So
cool.
I work with a place that we put hand controls in cars, people with disabilities that, have the lower floor minivan conversions.
Oh, like mobility stuff.
The mobility stuff, yeah. So I don't sell like wheelchairs and scooters. I sell the stuff that you can get around in, essentially. So we do like the hitch lifts and stuff like
Still
that.
Still automotive based.
Yeah. Still automotive. I just can't get out of it. I can't get out of it. It's a different genre. Because it's a need, right? It's something that's always going to be there. And I kind of honestly, every one of my jobs has led to the next job. And it's really weird. And that's a very long story. We probably don't have time for all that. But literally every one of my jobs has led me to the next job. Yeah. And so, Import Alliance here has led me to Hybrid. And then that's when I moved to Baton Rouge.
Yep.
And then when I left Hybrid, so that the company that I work for now, they have multiple locations. At the time, they only had 9 when I started. I've been there for over 10 years now. But they opened up their store 2 doors down from Hybrid. Had no clue who they were.
Oh, wow.
Well, I went in for an interview after I had left Hybrid, and then the rest is history. I've moved all over since then. But I've been with them since then.
And so when he's saying Hybrid, he's talking about the Hybrid Racing.
The Hybrid Racing.
Yeah, and if you're on YouTube, you can see it on his shirt.
Yeah, I still rep them. They're my family. They were a huge part of my world. This guy over here, we had one of the probably funnest nights of my life right before I left Nashville. That was crazy. It was such a fun time. All my friends here. Yeah, it was the best going away party. I still try to stay in contact with most everybody, mostly through Facebook and stuff like that. Kind of like everybody as you get older, the kids and married and, all that fun stuff.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, life, right? And actually what started the Hybrid part was Import Alliance in 09. I think it was 09. They had debuted their Del Sol. The famous graffitied,
Yep.
So the famous graffitied engine bay Del Sol.
Yep. I remember it. It was down there.
It was right down there.
Yep.
I had taken a picture. I was into photography at the time. Zach Carter got me into it.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Zach Carter.
Oh, Zach.
Yeah. And he had worked with me, and so I had gotten into photography and. Really just tried to play with it, and I took a picture of their engine bay, and it was actually a really awesome picture. Yeah. And David, which is still with Hybrid, he hit me up wanting the picture, and I was like, hey, well, let's work out something. I'm building this car that I'm painting green. I do have a B series. I would love to go K, but again, at that time I was working at a sign shop, so he was like, hey, let's talk. So I ended up doing like a lot of their business cards, a lot of the Hybrid stickers. If you're super OG, I made that. I did a lot of that. The awesome sauce.
The awesome sauce.
The awesome sauce came from David and I's brain. That was an idea that was supposed to just be a sticker.
Yeah.
So that was just a slap sticker, essentially.
Yep.
That turned into a air freshener once I actually went to go work for them, that we had turned that into an air freshener.
I still got 5 or 6 of those.
Yeah.
Dude, so many. Thousands, I bet.
Well, I think like the next year, the year after I had started with them, we came here and I had my Element. That was when I messed my knee up. Yeah. And we were just driving around throwing out awesome sauces. Just like everybody was just like, oh, we love it, It was just a great time. But yeah, so we kind of traded off work for a little bit. It was just like, hey, again, and I think that's a big part of the car world. You kind of like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, right?
Yeah. It's community.
And so they use that picture to this day on a lot of their stuff. And which is awesome. I'm like, I took that picture. I don't take pictures anymore with my phone, but I don't actually take pictures anymore with camera anymore. But that's kind of what transitioned. One day we were talking. We always just chatted on back in the day, it was like Gmail chat or whatever,
Yeah.
And so we're talking, because he's like, hey, I need 50 stickers of this or whatever. And he was like, hey, I think we need a salesperson. And I was like, well, I'll come down. Ironically, I was really good friends with Chase from Chase Bays.
Yep.
And he was like, hey, I want to go down to Hybrid too. Like, let's go down to New Orleans and party. So I go down for an interview, at Hybrid. And that night, we all go to New Orleans and party and have a really good time. And I guess I passed the interview because I got hired.
That's a good core memory, right?
Yeah. Well, I got a picture. I actually texted to Chase the other day because it popped in my Facebook. I'm like, God, we were kids, man. And that was back in 09 and 10 when all that went down. So then I moved down there.
And so speaking of the sticker shop, right? So I actually had met you pretty much through him because he was he had so if you don't remember, back in the day, 09, 2010, whatever, the gun show from Rogue Status was a really popular pattern. And
I love it.
And I see Aaron's 180 and it's got it all across the hood. And I'm like, dude, I have got to have that. And so I hit Tim up and he did work at a sign shop and he gladly printed me out some. But how did you meet Tim?
I think it was the North Nashville car meets.
Yeah,
I just kind of
all the mutual friends. It all kind of just fell into place.
Yeah. And that was back in the forum days.
Yeah.
And I feel like the community. Yeah, 10speed.net, dude. Shout out to 10speed.net.
What was your username, Tim?
I probably was IMT Schultz. That is my thing. That's been my thing forever. Because I used to. My email, I actually hate giving out my email because I feel like people think it's like my birth year, but it's like, no, that's just my favorite year for my car. It's 97, right? So I'm like, here's my resume with 97 on it. I probably should change that. But no, I think it was probably through 10-speed.
Yeah.
And then I think you were friends with Chris Vicentes and stuff like that.
Yep.
So a lot of the people, we all kind of met, Drew and his brother, we all kind of met at one time, and it was just
yeah.
Hey, cool. Let's go hang out at was it 10? What was the place there in Rivergate on Thursday
Tennessee
nights?
Speed Sport.
We'd go there, hang out there Friday on Thursday nights or whatever.
Just causing a ruckus, dude.
Yeah,
just
go to Hooters or go to eat some wings or go to Chili's, and then it just became a thing.
Yeah, that's dope. And so you did mention it, and I got to bring it up because this car is iconic. Tim Schultz. Most people that know you will bring up the green car.
The green car.
The green car. Tell us a little bit about the green car.
Man, that green car went through a lot of phases. That green car, my parents, we had a 2-car, or they had a 3-car, separated, garage or whatever, and started off in the 1-car, attached garage, right? And me and my buddy, Nick Swan, we were just we're bored, right? Let's just start taking stuff apart. And then it kind of he kind of fade out. It was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just taking stuff apart, all right, cool, whatever, and I'd done it before, just not on a 97 Civic chassis. They're all pretty much the same, And so
10 mils.
Yeah, 10 mil, 17, 14, 12, you're good. That's it. That's all you need,
Literally.
And so I started taking it apart, and then I started ordering parts. That was, of course, back in the day of the Honda Tech, forums and stuff. So you're like, okay, what if I want to do this? How am I going to do it the best way with the kind of budget that I have? So I again reached out to Matt, and he was like, okay, order these fittings for this brake line. I'll help you bend them, flare them, whatever. And then it kind of got to a point where when I had stripped it down completely, the car was originally red. And to slightly back up, I went to go buy this car from some old dude in middle of nowhere, Kentucky. I found it on, I don't even know what, but back then it wasn't Auto Trader. I don't even know what it was back then. But he said, it was a great car. It was perfect, right? I get there, the quarter panel was bashed in, and I'm like, dude, what's up with this, And he gave me some discount on it, so whatever. So fast forward, I knew at some point body work was going to have to be done. So on that green car, I pretty much replaced the passenger door, the whole front end, 1 quarter panel, and all the bumpers, taillights, headlights, everything. The whole car was pretty much brand new, minus the roof and 1 quarter panel and 1 door. Everything was new.
Did you do all that yourself as far as the body work and everything?
So I did. I actually, at the time, I had met when I went through school for auto body. Okay. So I went to school for auto body and paint. And I had met a guy I was doing an internship kind of thing through Cadillac.
Okay.
And so I was working at a Cadillac dealership in the body shop, and one of the guys there did it at his house, kind of did a side project.
Nice.
A case of beer and $300.
The homie hook.
Dude,
yeah, dude.
You couldn't do that today.
Dude, no. And he went through the whole car and fixed all the dents, replaced the quarter panel, primed it, got everything blocked out. Everything was perfect. And so at that point, the car comes back to me. I start kind of scuffing it up, and then I'm kind of like, what color do we paint it, you know? And I worked at Honda at the time. I was like a little detailer, you know, and my buddy was like, dude, this new color on the CRV is really cool.
Yes.
And my buddy Corey, shout out to him. He's actually going to try to come by today. He was like, it's called green tea. And I'm like, what? You know,
green tea.
Green tea metallic. And that's the color I went.
Google this green tea metallic, because I remember when you like revealed it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is such an awesome color. The metallic really makes it stand out.
Yeah. And it's very similar to the Lexus
the
green.
Money green or whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember. Like the Lexus kind of has their own version of it. But when you see a green tea metallic CRV going down the road, you don't think much about it. But when you put it on something that's so different, it definitely stood out. And that was kind of that was like, all right, cool. Now I painted it. So I painted the bay first, and then I painted the inside in my parents' house. And then I started with the B Series, did that, got it started. And then I drove it on the trailer, got it to my school that I went to. My teacher was super awesome. I still actually talk to him to this day. He's like, if you ever need to paint anything, let me know. And I'm like, yeah, I'm 4 hours away. It's kind of hard, you know. But he still runs the school. He's a super awesome guy. And so painted the outside. I get it back to my house. And in the middle of all of that is when I meet Hybrid. And that's when that transition happened from going from a running – and that just had an LS in it. It had a running LS B Series in it.
Yep.
So I had 4 lug on it, and at the time I bought 5 lug. So then I put that on there and was able to find like my dream spec CE28. So then it was like the green car on the bronze CE28s. Then everything kind of started piecing together. At one time I had a Bomex wing that nobody really messed with, you know. So I had the Bomex, and then I ended up not even running that wing, but. You know, and then I just had a bunch of random stuff. Then I had the old school, like the 96, 98, the Mugen lip on it that you really don't see. And I'm like, God, I wish I still had that lip now.
Stuff
you know, like
you
don't even, you know, at the time you don't really think much about that. But so that's when I moved, and the car was in a million pieces, and I moved to Baton Rouge to work for Hybrid. So then we came up like a month or two after I moved and brought it down there, and actually ended up repainting the whole car.
Whoa.
In Baton Rouge. The same color. Because when I painted it the first time, it was kind of like not really rushed, but I didn't have a whole lot of time to do like, let me do just like the fenders, the hoods, the bumpers. I kind of had to do a lot at one time, and I was really squeezed for space.
Yep.
So it just didn't feel right. And my OCD kind of kicked in, and I was like, you know what? I'd rather just scuff it and reshoot it.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and then my engine bay, one of my brake lines had leaked and ate some of the paint. So I resprayed the bay green. So the car actually has 2 paint jobs on the outside, 3 on the engine bay, because I got bored, and I was like, cool. Like 2 weeks before one of the import alliances, I pulled the motor out and painted the engine bay gray. So that's how it ended up. Yeah. And so I did like the gray engine bay with like the green tea valve cover.
Yeah.
And that is how the car ended up. So if you see it in the Honda
stayed with an LS the whole time? LS?
No, because at that time I had sold the LS, and I bought a K-Series before I moved to Baton Rouge. So I had sold the LS, sold the 4 lug, I had bought the 5 lug, and then I had kind of put it back together somewhat so it could roll. And I think I had mounted the motor in the car just so I didn't have to have an extra motor and all that stuff to ship it down.
Yep.
So, and then when I got to Hybrid, that's when we finished it up. And we kind of used that as like a little test mule. You know, we did like an intake on it. We did a couple of different newer parts on it. But for the most part, I mean, it was pretty much a Hybrid catalog. Everything on it was Hybrid, of course, you know, as I worked there. But
and so because Hybrid Racing, essentially, of course, they're Honda, but they focus on K-Series at this point.
At that point, it was K-Series only. You know, they really didn't dabble into anything else. You know, now they definitely do. You know, they have the B-Series stuff, which my current car is. And so they have stepped over into the B-Series world, ironically going backwards.
Backwards.
You know, and then still it sells great. You know, and I was happy for them because I'd always pushed for that when I worked there, and that was one of my things that I could never understand. I'm like, I get it, I understand, like, it's all K series stuff, but not everybody wants to go K.
Yep.
It's not that you really can afford it. It's just that you just maybe, it's not that it's a purist thing. It's just maybe you just don't want to do that.
Yeah, maybe you're
like
a B series guy.
Yeah, you're just like you have H series people or F series or whatever. Or, it's just kind of one of those things of just trying to have it, a little your name on a little bit of everything, right?
Yep.
And if you already kind of have the engineering behind it, just kind of just change it up a little bit. The biggest difference is cables versus rods.
Yep.
So
okay, I got a little story. I've already said on the podcast multiple times, my next car is a Civic Type R, an EK9. As back when I did live in Nashville, that's what I had was an EK9 Civic Type R with some yellow TE37s on it. And so, I keep my eye on these things, right? Just as all of the guys do, right? And I see this silver one pop up on Bring a Trailer. And I showed Aaron, he's like, dude, bid on it. And,
I'm good at that.
silver's not like
bear.
necessarily my color. I'm definitely a white guy, championship white when it comes to the Civics. But, it was a pretty decent looking car and everything kind of checked out. And so I start bidding on this thing, and I had a max bid, and it comes down to the very wire, right? And somebody else, and I didn't even look at the username, somebody else outbid me at the last minute, and I was like, it's their car, I'm not going any higher because this could get dangerous, right? And I'm friends with Tim on Facebook, and I keep an eye on him, see what he's doing. You always got to keep an eye on this guy, anyways. But
you just never know.
Yes, and what do I see? This dang silver Civic pops up in his garage, and so I was actually bidding against Tim here, and in hindsight, I'm actually real happy that it was you, and you ended up coming across it because. It seemed like a solid car, and I knew that you were kind of in between cars in a sense, you know what I mean? And so now this is what you have today. Yep.
So, 98 Type R, and it's, I think it's got about 80 or 90,000 kilometers on it. I mean, it's pretty low mileage. There's definitely, it's a, 26, 7, whatever year old car, and so it's not perfect. And I'm used to new cars. I had, the last real fun car for me was the Type R, the 2018 Type R. I sold that. Then I had a 2020 Tundra. So I kind of stepped over into the truck world for a little bit, but it was brand new. And then I had the 2022 Supra, which was used, but it was garage kept. It was pretty much brand new, not a scratch on it or anything. So now I go back to everybody's looking at me at work when that bidding happened. I came out of my office and I'm like, yeah, I kind of accidentally just bought another car, oops.
And I say to my wife, too.
Yeah, I was like...
accidentally.
Yeah. It's I knew the guy that was selling it, and we had actually already talked previously about me buying it, and then it kind of was one of those situations where I was like, I got the Supra, and I don't really need it right now. I want it, but I don't need it. And then I got to a point where I was like, I was tired of the Supra. Because he had it for a little bit. I think he imported it in April or something. And I had talked to him previously about importing one anyways.
Yep.
And then he told me he had that one and stuff. And then so we kind of went from there. And I was like, it's just not a good time for me. I love the car. I love the silver. I like the white too. But silver's kind of in the rare part of it, That's why I kind of feel a little bad about changing up some stuff that I am changing on it. But ultimately, it's my car, whatever, I'm not going for a hardcore OEM, has to be pristine Honda, whatever. But it's
not like it's a 15,000 kilometer car.
Correct. It's not a showroom car by any means, by any stretch. It definitely needs a little bit of touch up here and there. It's a good 10-footer.
But that's kind of your thing.
That is, that's kind of, it's been in the garage. I have literally drove that car from I got it shipped to my shop, drove it to my house, around the neighborhood, parked it, and then tore it apart. So
sounds about right.
Yeah. So I think I've put, 15 miles on it since I've had it, and I bought it in November of last year. So, but in that time though, it was a pretty much bone stock car. Stock form wise, I think the motor stock, transmission's built and stuff like that. other than that, it's pretty stock, right? So stock it already has all the 5-lug and all that stuff, but and of course I can't leave stuff alone. So I hit up my buddy Bryce and I was like, hey, do you have anything laying around? Because I know he always does. And he was like, yeah, what do you want? I was like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
you know?
What do you got?
And I knew as soon as I purchased the car, I literally went online and started adding stuff to my cart because I knew I knew I had a vision for that car. And that's one thing that I had with my Supra. That's one thing I had with my 350Z and then my Type R. You know, I lowered it and put bronze C28s on it because as soon as I bought the car, I knew what I wanted, and I knew what I wanted before I even bought the car.
Right.
So when I got that car, because I wasn't planning on actually winning, I didn't think I was going to, because I kind of had the same thing. I was like, my max is this, you know, whatever. If I don't, I don't, whatever.
Yep.
So when I get it, I'm like, full spoon.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that it already came with a spoon ECU, right? So I'm like, well, I kind of have to now, right?
Yeah. It's only right.
It's only right. I got to keep it going. It has one part, you know, it's got an oil cap. You're like, all right, cool. Spoon everything, right? So yeah, now it's got pretty much the full EK catalog, minus the cluster and seats.
Yep.
I need to find a set of seats that I can try to test fit in.
They can't be narrow.
Yeah, that's my problem. So that's where I'm kind of having that dilemma. As much as I like the idea of having a complete spoon car, those two parts may just not be obtainable.
That cluster is ridiculous. If you buy that cluster, Tim, I don't know if we can speak after that.
It is, dude. It's kind of that's. Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, Ryan Durr out in California just did a full digital dash, and then just like he made the spoon cluster on the digital dash.
Oh, that's
so
legit,
like that's dope. I'm like, that's freaking sick. So like, and you can change your faces. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's the way to go. And you spent a fraction of the cost to what the spoon clusters are. And
you're modernizing it a little.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And so I did see it, and right, the rear spoiler, the front lip, the calipers, like, right, the whole catalog. And so, but what we really want to know, right, is what about the motor? What about the motor?
It's going to stay B.
Yep.
Yes.
It will stay B series.
Yeah, it's got it.
Everybody asked me that right as soon as I bought it. You know, all the friend group and stuff like that. I was like, are you going to go K? No. I had that, right? I had the fun car. I had that. I want to keep. I'm old, right? We're old. We're like, you know what? We've been there, done that road. I want to keep AC, power steering.
Yeah.
I want to keep it reliable and easy where I can hop in it, drive it.
Comfortability.
Yeah. Even though, you know, I slammed it and it's like, all right, cool. Now I can't drive it because I can't roll the fenders. You know what I mean? But it's like, all right, whatever. It's still like I can still have AC on, and while I sit there and look at it, you know?
In the garage.
Yeah, in the garage. Yeah, I can sit there and stare at it. Because it's definitely not a car that I want to drive every day because parts are so hard to get, and that's my problem.
Wear and tear.
That is my dilemma at this point. Now I have a car that is super hard to get parts for. I just bought a brand new bumper for it just to have it because I'm like, if this one gets messed up, there's 8 left in the world, or you know, United States, whatever. And then like if you try to buy one used, they want $300 for it or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like stuff is dumb for a Civic. You know, that's what we're looking at now.
For a 98 Civic.
For a 98 Civic, you know, we're looking at ridiculous prices, but, you know, that's kind of just the part of it at this point.
And so you're thinking pretty much leave that motor as is, maybe a few accessories.
Yeah, I got the hybrid shifter on there now, again, because they're B-Series stuff. So I got a hybrid shifter on there. I got the hybrid fuel rail. I do, of course, I have like I put a Koyo radiator in it. That's the only thing I didn't go with the spoon stuff in the bay because $2,000 for a radiator.
Yeah, it's a little.
There's a little pick and choose of your battles. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I see it, I like it, but I'm like, just $2,000.
Have a little money in your pocket at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, if it functions the same, that's where I kind of draw the line of like, okay, the styling is one thing, right? Because you get authentic, you know, spoon hood and wheels and lips and calipers and stuff. That's different, I feel like, compared to an aluminum radiator, dual core, things like that. That's where I kind of draw the line of like I can handle that part of it. You know,
so he's got an EK9 now. So is this it for Tim? Is this it?
You know
this guy.
Yeah. You know, the problem is I'll never ever not be searching for something else.
Yep.
I mean, I think
it's
that
the
is
hunt.
just
You're a hunter. We like throughout the podcast and all of our guests, and there really is a common theme with guys like you.
Yeah.
You're hunters.
Yeah.
Like the hunt is really what excites you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
trying to find the parts, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
going through the Japanese websites and going through Facebook Marketplace, going through. And what's crazy is prior to this car, I was supposed to actually buy another silver car. This was several years ago, actually, and I still lived in Alabama. And I found this guy on eBay that apparently just really didn't either care what he had or didn't know what he had, right? Like, I think he bought it and just kind of it sat for a little. He sold his car or something, but he had a Jay's Wing, brand new in the box, like Vision carbon mirrors, like several parts, Jay's hood, and like all this stuff just sat, right? And so I hit him up on eBay and I was like, hey, you're in North Carolina, I'm in Alabama, can we meet halfway or something, you know? He did, gave me a smoking deal on everything. And I was like, dude, this is stupid. This is awesome. I'll just keep this stuff in the garage, you know?
Yep.
Then we decided that we wanted to buy a condo in Florida. And so I sold all of those parts and I actually found a brand new set of Rega Masters that were sold in 04 or 05 that had never been used on a car on Facebook Marketplace.
That's
and
wild.
I bought them for like $1,600.
That's a steal.
Yes.
Those
and I'm
are
like,
$4
bro,
grand
like,
right now.
and I'm like, dude, are you kidding me right now? And I hit up Matt at IC, and I'm friends with Matt at ICB, and I'm like, hey, dude, look what I just found. Like, this is insane, you know? Like, this is not like the new stuff. This is like old, you know? And he's like, that's crazy, you know? But I actually ended up selling all that so we could put the money into remodeling the condo. So that's when I didn't have a car for a while. That was kind of the condo, the short-term rental situation. That was when I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
Every other pretty much time I've had, you know, 2 cars, my daily and then something else to kind of tinker with.
Yeah. So if Tim could get what he wanted right now, what would that be?
Is money a problem?
No.
Man, the new GT3 RS I think is probably hands down.
Yeah.
I think that would be
Gonna do your Hondas like that?
Man,
different levels.
Well, yeah, I think because that car is so unobtainable for me personally.
For most of us.
Yeah, you know, like that's just a car that I think would be like that would be in my garage forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that was something that was like somebody handed me the keys to it. Now, if I had the money and that was no problem, I'd probably be like, man, I'd have it for a year, then sell it and buy a Lambo. You know what I mean? Like the same thing, just a different level, right?
Yeah.
No, and I think actually with Hybrid, he's here today. David from Hybrid is here, and he has the new FL5.
Yep.
Man, that's a nice car. I think that might be the next move.
Yeah.
I like my creature comforts now.
Yeah, and so that's that was a thing, right? Like you were saying, you went from a 22 Supra down to a 98 Civic, and the electronics, the comfortability, just all of that technology is not there with an EK9.
It's very simple.
I have an FL5, and I'm here to tell you it is there in the FL5 for sure. And that's a very well-sorted car from the factory. Yeah. And then with your touch on it, that's probably, as far as Hondas, that's where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean, if anybody wants the 98 EK9.
You're looking at him, buddy. You're looking at him.
It's out there for sale right now, you know. But, no, it's kind of, I think that would be a hard, not like a huge hard problem or a hard sell for me, I think, because I think I've had my fun with it. I've done, I think, 7 or 8 EK chassis, right?
Yeah.
Between I had since I'd known Aaron, even before I left Nashville, I think I had 3 different EM1 EP, the Electron Blue.
Yeah.
EPP,
So, and Chris still has my old one that he bought from me. It's still blown up sitting in his garage. And I'm like, dude, and that was a super clean car. And that one was one I think we did the gun show on that one too. I don't know if I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so that was and I had a red one. I had a silver daily driven 98 Civic that I sold to a guy when I worked at Hybrid. He drove in from Atlanta and bought the whole Hybrid catalog because he was on K-Swap. And I'm like, dude, it's a perfect daily. Don't do it, you know, like bone stock 97 Civic. And he was in that. But I've had multiple coupes, multiple hatches.
So you've kind of, at this point, right? You're 38.
Yeah.
You've kind of been there, done that. In that sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of like when I bought the car, I was really excited. Then I get it, I'm like, it's fun. It's a fun car to have. I just don't know if it's my last car to have in that sense.
So I look forward to that call when you're ready to sell.
Yeah. Hey, it's there.
Awesome, man. Tim, we definitely appreciate you coming through.
Yep.
I know, there's of course a ton of OGs here. We appreciate you sneaking away for a few minutes, shooting it with us. But we're going to keep in touch, Tim, because I know that thing's not going to last long, man. I know
Probably
it's not. I know it's not.
Hey, I'm
man.
building a house right now, so I at least have to wait till after November. Can't make no money moves right now.
Yeah.
It'll wait till at least then.
Hell yeah, man. All right, Tim, enjoy the rest of Import Alliance. We appreciate you. Let them know real quick if they want to follow along. Where can they find you on social media, Tim?
I have Instagram and Facebook. And it's just I am T Schultz.
Classic.
So SCH.
That's him.
Yes.
ULTZ. Or ULTZ. Yeah. The classic right there.
Awesome, Tim. It was good to see you, and enjoy the rest of the event, man.
Awesome. Well, it was very nice being here.
Good talk.
Yeah.
Timmy.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Good dude.
Tim is such a good guy. And that was, a guest that I had to make sure that we got on, because I don't know when we'll see him next, right?
Seriously.
It's been, 10, 15 years. So it was really good catching up with him.
Yeah, it was a good time.
It definitely reminded me of, back in the day, just chopping it up with Tim.
Yeah, he hasn't changed a bit.
No,
Seriously.
he's still super cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's Tim. I am Tim Schultz on Instagram, right?
Yep.
Like, he's just a cool guy to always keep an eye on what he's doing. Keep up with his projects.
Yeah.
I love seeing it.
He always does his builds very tasteful. So
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I enjoy seeing them.
When he pulled up to Squirk's house, he had it on a trailer. When we were all at a pre-meet, he pulled up on a trailer, fresh in, and I'm just like, is that a spoon rear spoiler, spoon caliper? Dang,
And he's like,
Tim.
yeah, it's nothing much. Yeah, it's nothing
I'm
special.
Dang, Tim, like, chill. Like, what
Right?
do you mean? So he's always kept clean builds, if you look on his Instagram, you'll see the green car that we talked about. But yeah, this is episode 86. If this is your first podcast, go back, listen to some of the other ones if you're interested in finding a right-hand drive car, anything like that. Prior episodes are always good for that stuff.
Oh, yeah, there's tons of info in previous episodes.
And follow us on Instagram at RHDGUYS. And for episode 86, I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
See ya.
Peace.